Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I want to talk to you about the season 1 finale of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. The episode was called Coming Home. And as the episode starts, there's some kind of flashback to World War II, but it's very brief. We then join Daryl right where we left him at the end of last week's episode in the fight of his life, as it were, against this crazy, hyped up, altered walker, which he manages to pin up against the wall on the end of his axe pole. But the walker takes itself off the axe and runs at Daryl, leaving Daryl to have to stab it through the brain with the post of one of the flags hanging on the wall in the room. With the walker defeated, Daryl is handcuffed, chained to Quinn, and given another axe while Quinn is given like a pick hammer thing. And a few other jacked up walkers are released on them, one of which attacks one of the other walkers before attacking Daryl or Quinn, which is very strange. But it then does attack Daryl, and while Quinn tries to stab it, he can't access its head because it's been given a helmet. And it only ends up being killed by Daryl and Quinn when they take its head off by wrapping the chain linking the two of them around its neck and pulling. Oh, yes. Daryl then throws the head right at Janae up in her spectator box before one of the Nest operatives fires a few rounds from an automatic weapon, though we don't know how he got in there with it, causing panic among the crowd, at which point Daryl and Quinn, still chained together, escape the room. Isabel and Luron are taken to a cell again, but apparently Isabel managed to pocket a tool she can use to open the cell. It turns out that Quinn was bitten in the fracas, and so Daryl separates the two of them by cutting off Quinn's hand at the wrist, after which, not yet turned, Quinn buys Daryl some escape time by running into the hallway and attacking some of the guards that are looking for the two of them. Daryl then meets up with Luron and Isabel, though they're separated by a gate. And when the now turned Quinn attacks Isabel, Daryl has to pass his axe through the gate to Luron, who has to kill his now zombified father. Then the three of them and the other lady they've been traveling with acquire a Jeep from the team of people they were working with before they left for the Nest to continue the journey. When Isabel tells Luron she's sorry that he had to do what he had to do, he says it's okay because he wasn't really his father and it wasn't even him anymore anyway, even if he had been. And sometimes you just have to do horrible things knowing that God will forgive you. The Jeep breaks down, though, shortly thereafter, and as Daryl is fixing it, he and Isabel talk about his past. And she confesses that she kind of tricked him into helping them by faking the drawing that Luron supposedly had made in advance of his arrival to make it seem like his arrival was foretold and that Luron had some kind of precognitive abilities. While he was under the Jeep, Janae's men show up and attack him and Isabel. The guy whose brother Daryl killed then shoots the rest of his fellow soldiers dead after being ordered to shoot Luron, after which he picked up the stopwatch that our heroes were using as a guide to where the Nest is and told them that it's about another day's hike, but they should burn the Jeep so that it can't be tracked, and just walked off. Then after a bunch of walking, our heroes arrived at the Nest and were welcomed as such. While Isabel's recovering from surgery for her wound, Daryl is teaching the people at the Nest how to shoot guns and bonding even more with both Lizzie and Luron. The leader of the Nest tells Daryl that they found a ship for him that will take him to England, from where he can catch a boat to Newfoundland, but that they could really use him there if he decided to stay. However, not even a final plea from Isabel can get him to stay, and he heads out. He soon comes across a graveyard near an American flag, both of which it would seem are at the beach at Normandy, which is apparently what the flashback from the beginning of the episode was specifically. And he looks there for his grandfather's marker, which he eventually finds. He had talked about his grandfather when he was talking to Isabel earlier. When he calls out to try to get the attention of the boat, which is just offshore, it wakes up a whole bunch of walkers that were apparently dormant in the trenches nearby, and he has to take a bunch of them out. Before he can get to the boat, though, Luron apparently has followed him, and he shows up calling for Daryl. With a bunch of walkers closing in on Luron, Daryl stands on the beach motionless. Before the episode ends, some guy is driving down the road on Daryl's bike, pursued by Carol, in a Mustang until the guy shoots through the block of her car with a shotgun, at which point she gets out and tells him she doesn't want any trouble. She's just looking for Daryl, whom the guy says he doesn't know because he just found the bike. As the guy is inspecting the trunk while holding Carol at gunpoint, she knocks him out and holds his own gun over him when he wakes up. He tells her that he got the bike by trading it with some folks down the road, which of course is probably true because Daryl left his bike behind when he was forced to go on the ship. And at that point, Carol takes the bike, saying that if she finds out he's lying, she won't be back to let him out of the trunk. And that's where the episode in the season ended. So obviously Carol's going to be in season 2. We kind of could have guessed this from the fact that he talked to her on the phone in a previous episode. And the report came out that she is going to be in season 2 just before the finale aired. It's going to be called The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Book of Carol, I guess, season 2. We'll have to wait for that until next year, when, by the way, the new show with Rick and Michonne is going to also premiere. They ran a short teaser for it last night, and, you know, it looks interesting. I'll probably check it out. We'll see if it's any good. These first 2 shows that they've done, you know, as spin-offs have been pretty good, so I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's going to be called The Ones Who Live. Anyway, as for this episode specifically, I did like it. I don't think it was as good as some of the previous episodes, which have been great, but there wasn't anything wrong with it by the same token. I think it was somewhat poignant that Quinn, you know, ended up having to sacrifice himself after he got hurt in the fight and was going to turn, and that they cut his hand off. Oh, okay. So, you know, that was interesting. Daryl talked in the episode a little bit about his past growing up with his brother and how his dad taught them to fix cars and how his dad was kind of a jerk and how his grandfather died in Normandy. And then, you know, he finds his grave. I thought that was cool. It was crazy to see him fighting the like enhanced or altered walkers. That was insane. And, you know, the best thing is we got a resolution to the season 1 plot, which was getting Laurent to the nest. They started a story, they finished the story, you know, plot line. And I think that was good rather than keep stretching it and stretching it, which is what a lot of shows do. They started with an arc and ended the arc in 6 episodes. They didn't drag it the hell out. So I think it was perfect. And it's going to be interesting to see in season 2 what becomes of this whole Laurent is the Messiah thing. Like, how is it going to pan out now that he's where he's supposed to be? So I'm looking forward to that. And I think, you know, we know Daryl's not going to get on the boat, or if he does, something goes wrong and he stays in France, because obviously there wouldn't be a season 2. The question is, how is Carol going to get to France? Maybe she's not going to get to France. Is Daryl going to delay getting on the boat and then get on the boat somewhere during season 2 with Laurent and Isabel, or maybe just Isabel? There's all kinds of possibilities. But Carol is a long way from France, so they're going to have to get together somewhere, either in Newfoundland, if, you know, but how would she know to go there? She wouldn't. So I don't know. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird to see how they get them together. If they do, maybe she's just going to be in it stateside looking for him, but never finds him. I don't know. All kinds of crazy possibilities. But, you know, I liked this episode. I thought it was good, though nothing special, unlike some of the previous episodes, which I thought were really, really good. And I liked the season. I thought this was a good season of television in general. It was a good season of The Walking Dead, which has been sorely needed since the last few seasons of the original show were not great. And this season was just the second great season of The Walking Dead we've had since then, given that the first season of The Walking Dead, Dead City with Negan and Maggie was also excellent. So I'll say it again. I don't know why they didn't do these spin-offs years ago. They could have done them years ago. I just don't know why they didn't. The last few seasons of the original Walking Dead show were terrible. So, and they had done a spin-off already. So like, what were they waiting for? I don't know. I'm just glad they did them because The Walking Dead is good again. And I'm looking forward to season 2. And I'm going to check out the Rick and Michonne show, even though I really don't care about those characters all that much. Because at the very least, I do want to see what's going on with Rick since he's like the OG, you know? But that's really it. Good episode, great season, and I'm looking forward to more. I'm going to get out of here for now. I'll be back with another video soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.